Ark Beyond Ascension, Part 15. Hello everyone and welcome back to our journey. Oh, we've got a couple of little friends here. So first off, I was going to go through and show you our new buddy here, but it seems we have some visitors. You guys going to be playing nice? I don't know. Alright, sorry fellas. Alright. Anyways, as I was saying, so we fully mutated the Argy here, and as you can see, look how proud he looks, and apparently he is so powerful he can float with only 1 foot. That's interesting. But yeah, I tried to go through and blend all the colors here, so you can see he's got the pink feet. He's actually got the pink chest here, and that's color is actually going to be the same color here that you'll see on the tail feathers. That runs all the way back up into the middle. And then I've actually got a green here on the top, on the shoulders and the back here. And you will see that on the underside of the wings, of course, as well. And then on the thighs. And then on the very tippity top, we do have some yellow. I actually had a dark blue as well, but I felt like the yellow really stood out. As it's kind of like a highlight, if you will. And the last thing here was the tail feathers, which is like this dark purple. I did get one other color too. It was like a dark blue, I think. But yeah, I felt like this purple made sense. I had a whole bunch of different colors. I had a yellow torso that come up. Actually, we'll go back to the base and I'll show you. But yeah, I went through and I was experimenting with different colors. The two ones that gave me the most trouble, though, were definitely the back tail feather. I just got the two, and then I only actually ended up getting pink feet. I did not get any other mutations for the feet, so we were just stuck with the pink. I personally am not a fan of the hot pink feet. I do think it goes with the color theme. Oh, it is very, like, dark and sad over here. Okay, well, yeah, but we'll take a look here and I'll show you everything. So, ignore the mammoth. I will explain to you how we got him after I go through and give you a rundown of everything. But you can see on these guys, so like this one's got the regular feet. These are a couple of the like, failed mutations. This one's got a different color of purple, and so I really liked how this came out here on the back feathers with that color. But I ended up going with that. And then was there any other noticeable ones? Yeah, there was like the purple here as well, with the purple on top. I wasn't quite a fan of that because it didn't really stand out as much. And then there was one very specific one. So this was the original one I got, a much lower level. It actually had like a black back with the purple, and that's why I immediately knew I loved this purple. It's probably pink. I'm probably colorblind. What if I'm coloring it? You know, if you guys have already told me in the comments, that's probably pink. But yeah, I got this with this black and it looked really, really nice. But I wanted to fully mutate the Argy, so I couldn't leave the black. Even though I did really like it, I did want to go through and get a different color. So yeah, that's what happened, and then I've got a couple of guys over here as well. I did not clean stack the mutations. I was kind of lazy about it, to be honest, and I had a bunch of chaos happen. You've probably seen some of that in the previous videos. But essentially, this guy is not leveled. He's not the correct level. I think I've got some in the cryopods here. So I've actually got the original ones over here. So this is Scarlet, our original Argy. This is the female. And this is the male. He was the one we bred with. He had 0 mutations as the male. So basically, whenever I would go over my stack, so like when you go on the mutations here for showing the ancestors, you would see like the maternal and the paternal side. So if we were to look at this guy, you will see that obviously these are like not cleanly stacked whatsoever. I just kept breeding them. But whenever these would both get too full, I would essentially go through and take the highest level and just breed it. With this guy, to go through and reset the mutations to one of the sides would actually be clear and available for more mutations. And that's how I ended up basically just getting the color schemes. That was definitely the wrong way to do it, and it probably took me longer than it should have. So when I do go through and start mutations for my cave creatures and the boss creatures, I think we'll probably just do... Somebody gave me a suggestion in the comments to just do each stat individually, so like 3 different breeding lines, and then after you have the stats, then breed for the color. So that's probably what we'll do in the future. I wasn't too worried about the stats for the Argy here on this 308. Actually, he's not base stats. He's max. He's almost he's got quite a few levels in him. So let me show you this guy here. So I should have another one in here, the perfect male. So this is what it looks like. So his base stat with the 100% imprint was just over 4,000 health. He had 735 oxygen and then 1240 stam, 440 melee. So I want to say there was 13 total mutations. I think it was 4 health, 1 stam, 1 oxygen. I said 14. I'm watching that up. And then I think 3 weight and 3 melee. So whatever that adds up to. That might be 14. But yeah, so it wasn't anything crazy. I wasn't going for any specific stats. I was glad I got some health and some melee ones. So he's not incredibly powerful. But he's definitely strong. And with the technique, you can pretty much already kill all the alphas anyway. You know, Cardinals are really the only ones that give me trouble as an RG. Rexes and Raptors are basically just a piece of cake. You float above them or headshot them and knock them back, so it's pretty easy. But this is the guy we went through and leveled up, but this is the future now. Now let me take you back to the past, and I actually had an entire wall of RGs over here that we needed to get rid of them. So let's visit the past and see what happened. Alright, now we are in the past here, and as you can see, I have a giant wall of RGs, and my base was starting to lag, so I needed to go through and to get rid of them, but I wanted to put them to good use, and I wasn't quite sure what to do with them. I did go through and I had like 350 ballista arrows, and I thought about just killing them that way. I was setting up a ballista turret, but I felt like that was kind of cruel because it had taken me forever, but I had an idea. So I went through and I basically got out of render range of every other creature in the base, and I whistled all, and you saw this giant flock of RGs. And I wasn't sure if I had got them all, so I did have to swoop back down to go through and make sure I had got them all. But once I had got through all of those crazy feathers and realized I had everybody I needed, we set out on a journey. I had a plan. And this plan was to go to the Snow Mountain. Now, for any of you that have been keeping up with the playthrough, you know what's on that Snow Mountain. There is a level 20 Karcha. And so I figured either one of two things was going to happen. It was a win-win situation. Either we kill the Karcha and we get our second Gigaheart for the playthrough, meaning we have enough for the Alpha Dragon fight, or the Karcha kills all my RGs, and then I no longer have any lag at my base. So either way, I win. And yeah, it depends on how it plays out. And here is how it played out. And as you can see, it certainly did not play out in favor of my RGs. Now, it probably did not help the fact that after I had bred all these RGs and left them over there, not a single one of them had food in their inventory. So they were probably all starving and probably did not have full health either. So yeah, the Karcha got a really nice tasty snack. He's literally drinking their blood. But my base no longer lags and things are certainly clear. So I'm pretty happy, and I've kept plenty of them back at my base, as you saw in the future here, to go through and continue the mutations in the future, or just having a second backup if I so need it. But now that we got these beautiful looking bird, I figured it was time to set out and go through and accomplish some things for the base, and my biggest thing is I really needed some more tames. I am in dire need of a mammoth. I want to go through and expand my base. I also want to build something for my birds, because I've got quite a few of them, and I'd like to move them farther up away from the base. That way I can just, have a designated spot for my RGs, and I don't have to listen to them chirping all the time, because it gets certainly loud and annoying between that and the generator. So I headed on over to the snow biome to see what it is that I could find. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, off camera, in between the Megatherium episode and the Argy episode, I went to go take screenshots for the thumbnail for my Megatherium, and actually during that process I came to this exact spot here, and you saw me just pick up the bag. My Megatherium actually died. I got attacked by a pack of 13 direwolves. And needless to say, they killed him. I somehow got away. I bullied the first one, and I realized they were going to kill him. I jumped off the cliff with my parachute, and I basically went through the water, and I managed to get away. So I got very, very lucky there. But yeah, that was a really dumb decision. And, I basically just went with the old thumbnail anyway, so it was definitely not worth it in the end. Now, I did go through and find an Avis here in the snow, and I had no way to tame him at the moment as I still lacked the giant bee honey. Definitely something I was going to go through and need to make an effort to get in the near future. But I brought him back to my base thinking I could at least go through and keep him here in my base, because if I was to find another carnivore and I could just chop him up at least, because I've already got the materials to build a chainsaw, that would certainly work out. So I basically built a small little enclosure, and I just dropped him in there to keep him safe from all the predators out there in the snow biome, because he probably would have died in a matter of seconds had I left him out there. I then went through and headed back out to the snow biome, and I did stumble upon a red drop, so I went through and I picked that up, had some decent ammo in it, and a flak helmet, so I was pretty happy with that, and then I continued my search to look for some new high-level tames. And very shortly thereafter, I was actually met with a pretty high level tame. And by very shortly later, I literally mean that I killed every single creature that I could find all up and down this coast until I was about halfway through the snow biome with literally 0 luck, 0 high levels, nothing above level 100. It was absolutely terrible. But for you guys, that experience was short. I'm not going to make you go through all that pain that I had to go through, but I eventually did find a high level mammoth in a group of 5, a 145, which I was super ecstatic about because I had barely found any that were over level 100. So this was a very big win for me. So I went through and I proceeded to go through and kill all of his buddies here, and basically I tried to lure him down on this cliff, knowing that the lower section here, just beneath everything, was actually going to be a significantly easier and safer place to go through and tame him than the place up top there where I knew there was a whole bunch of big bad stuff that could go through and kill him once he was knocked out. Then, just as I was luring him down, thinking we were going to go through and get him to fall off, I realized just to my right around the corner here, was actually a predator waiting to strike. There was a Daedon who was literally just waiting to go through and to jump out to basically ruin my chance to go through and get this tame. He was playing Spider-Man, clinging to that wall there. And so I was not going to have it. And I pulled one of the craziest things I've done as an Argy. As he jumped, I picked him up mid-flight, and I went through and I ate that bacon for breakfast. And then I thought every single thing was safe. I'd get the mammoth down here and we would be okay. And then finally the mammoth went through and fell, and I figured it would be a good place to stop. But then I found one more little piggy, so I went through and picked up that piggy too, and I dealt with him, and then we were good to go through and tame. And there was actually 0 complications with taming. He went through and he followed me. I'd shoot a couple of arrows, hop off the Argy, fly back down the other side, rinse, and repeat. It was pretty straightforward. And then once he was knocked out, I figured I was going to have quite a bit of time until he wakes up anyway, and it was going to take quite a while to go through and get him to be hungry enough to actually get tamed. So I made my way up to the top of Blue Ah, which is actually at the top of the mountain that I was currently sitting at, and I went through and I crafted a couple of cryopods. Now I realized that I was going to need more material, specifically metal, to go through and make more, but I knew with me going to want to tame everything and basically on the hunt for a bunch of high-level tames, I was certainly going to be needing a whole bunch more cryopods than what I already had. So then I proceeded to make my way back to the base, and I went through and I grabbed myself some kibble, grabbed myself some more polymer, and grabbed myself some metal, and then I set back out to go through and deal with the mammoth and look for some more high-level tames on the way, as it was still going to take a little time for him to actually tame up. But then, just as I was entering the snow biome, I went through and I looked at my mammoth status here as I peered over to it, and it said that he was dead, and I pulled him up in the tracking list, and sure enough, he had died. So somehow, all of my efforts that I had made to go through and put him in one of the safest areas possible simply did not help our situation. The snow biome still went through and consumed him. So we were down another high tame. I was very sad. So we just flew around in circles on the Argy for a little bit, and then we had to get back to work. I then went through and I continued to go through and look for some high-level tames in the snow biome, and at this point, everything that I had killed previously had actually gone through and respawned, so I had a whole bunch of work to go through, basically kill every single thing, and I can tell you that the packs of mammoths are such a pain to go through and to deal with an Argy. I thought the Carnos gave me a hard time because of their thrash ability and the fact that they make you bleed or slow you down, but when you hit a group of mammoths, when they go through and have the mate boost, and then they have the depuff, and then they have the knockback, my goodness, it is an absolute nightmare. I really want a more powerful creature to go through and deal with these guys because they are just an absolute pain, and they're tanks and beasts. And at the same time, that's the exact reason I want one, because I need a giant burly mammoth to go through and ride on to collect a whole bunch of wood and, just help traverse the snow biome. I then went through and I saved this mammoth from this Megatherium who was completely bloodthirsty, and then it kind of dawned on me, and I was curious, how on earth does a Megatherium become, bloodthirsty or enraged from bugs in the snow biome? Because to my knowledge, I have never seen an ant drone here in the snow, and I don't believe scorpions spawn here either, and obviously spiders are just in the cave on the island, so I'm not quite sure how this happened, but I've actually ran into 3 different ones in the snow that are like this, so if you guys can let me know in the comments, do ants actually spawn in the snow biome? I've never seen them, but needless to say, though, this guy was like an absolute pain. He basically, at the end of this fight, he'd taken out half of my health. I barely just get him. He just deals so much damage, and he was only at level 110. If he'd been 20 levels higher, we definitely would have tried to tame him. But, he was totally not worth the fight. And then while I was out exploring, I figured I'd go through and collect all of the Explorer nodes, because I knew basically if I didn't collect it now when I found it, then there was a good chance that I was not going to find it again. And usually there are some places I tend to explore on my flyer that I just most likely will not come back to later if I'm not on my flyer. So I realized that I might as well just collect it now for the extra experience for both myself and for my Argy, even though I had actually hit max level. So I guess the experience buff wasn't really doing anything for me, but my Argy was not max level yet, so I figured I'd go through and try and get him as high as I could. That way I could keep investing in more points into both the weight stat and his melee stat. Now, as I was going through and continuing my outrage and working my way down the coast, killing every creature that I could find, I did go through and find a saber-tooth that was actually attacking this group of mammoths, and I picked him up and I was about to kill him, and then I realized that he was actually a decent level saber, and I wanted to go through and tame this guy. So I basically went through and brought him back to the glacier. That was really close to my base. This is an absolute amazing place to go through and tame creatures. I tame mammoths here, sabers here, anything that you can get over here, because once they get onto the glacier, they are pretty much stuck, and there's a good chance they will not fall off into the water, because the majority of the edges all have like quite a few icebergs built up. So it's a really good place to go through and to be, and there are virtually nothing that spawns out here. Occasionally you will find an Argy or a Pelagornis, but it is usually really, really rare. So I did go through and drop the saber down, and then after a couple of shots to the dome, he did go through and fall over, and it was a pretty straightforward knockout. Now I did go through and find a pack of Daedons just up from where I found the saber actually, and there was a high level one here with them. So I went through and I killed every single Daedon that I could with my Argy until there was just 2 left. And then I figured at this point I could go through and bola both of them, and I would kill the one or have my Argy kill it, and they could go through and I could tame the other. But as Ark happens, it did not go as planned. I did go through and basically bolaed the one, but then I failed the bola on the second, so I stick the Argy on him instead, and then I proceeded to go through and try and tame the high level while he was bolaed. But being a Daedon, just an absolute beast, and I also forgot the fact that they only take hit damage when you shoot them in the lower lip for some reason, and not in the head. But he did not get knocked out during the Ebola, so he actually went through and proceeded to go through and start attacking me, and things got a bit chaotic, and he actually started to get me kind of low as well. My health was down to about half, so I proceeded to go through and pick up the Daedon, and worked my way back over to the iceberg with the saber, and dropped him off there as well, and then bullet him, and then proceeded to go through and finish knocking him out. He actually only needed just a few more shots, so it may have been possible on the ocean side, but it was much, much safer up here. Now, do you remember that Avis that we tamed earlier? Yep. It was lunchtime. Both my Daedon and my saber needed feeding, so I figured what better way to go through than offer this little body up as a sacrifice. And I basically chopped him up with a chainsaw, so I had a whole bunch of mutton. So I went through and I put that in the piggy here, who actually had almost woke up and I was getting a bit scared, so I actually did bring some narcotics with just in case. And then the saber only needed a couple of bites, and he was satisfied with just a few, but this piggy was a hungry little piggy. So yeah, we basically went through and stuffed them both full, and they both tamed up without any issue. And then I went through and I found another loot drop on the way back, so you know, of course, I did go through and have to grab that. And this loot drop was actually pretty vital too, because it had 2 more artifact pedestals. At this point, I think I had 8, and I had not built a single one, so I was pretty stoked about that. Because I did want to go through and do something with them later on, but I wasn't quite sure what. And then also I got like a stack and a half of mushrooms, which is also awesome, because I still had not gone to the swamp, so that's going to save me some time later on as well. And then I went through and I compared the 2 pigs, and somehow I had lucked out. I had 2 high levels, and one was a male, and one was a female, which means we now officially had a breeding pair of Daedons, so we can actually go through and start working on breeding up a nice little piggy for our boss battles. I was pretty stoked about that. Now, I was still determined to go through and find a mammoth, as I was still pretty upset with what had happened earlier, and a lot of my expansions were basically being halted due to the lack of wood, because these bare little hands on my survivor could not chop the amount of wood that I needed, and basically all my creatures just, yeah, they were not good for wood. So I really, really needed a mammoth, and I don't quite like Therazinos or beavers nearly as much as I do the mammoths, as I just feel like the mammoth has a massive amount of weight, it has a great weight reduction, they're very bulky, hard to take down. I think they're the best wood carrier, hands down. And so I really wanted the mammoth, but while I was venturing out, I also went through and started farming some resources. I went through and I looked for a bunch of metal and obsidian that was going to have some cementing paste if I needed it in their near future. And then I also wanted more metal because I was really close, like 300 short from being able to build the industrial forge. I had then made it through about halfway through the snow biome on the back side of the mountain here, and the baby that we had actually gone through and adopted and decided we were just going to leave out here to go through and just be on his own was just still sitting there. He had actually grown up to be a full adult, and he was just standing there also like alone and sad, and I kind of felt bad, but yeah, we still left him there. And then finally I stumbled upon a mammoth. He wasn't a max level or even a fully like powerful level. He was a little under, I think he was like a level 120 or 125. But at this point, I had given up hope, and I was going to settle, because I really needed wood, and I was just going to make this work. Now this time, though, I did not want to go through and leave my mammoth for any reason whatsoever, because the snow biome was not playing nice, so I literally proceeded to just sit here on this perch with my Argy. We had the kibble on us, so there was literally zero reason for us to leave, so we just sat here and stared at it. And after a few seconds, he went through and he tamed up, and I tossed him in a cryopod. And I found myself another explorer note that I had never even known was there, and then I made my way all the way up to the top, and I managed to craft, I think it was just over 8 dozen cryopods. But yeah, I continued my journey here and I actually found another structure, so I went through and grabbed that exploring it as well. And then I was attacked by a pack of raptors to try to take me out from the sky here. So I went through and I actually found out that one of them was a level 140, so I proceeded to go through and kill his buddies, knock him out, and tame him up. It was pretty straightforward. And now that we had this full inventory full of wood, I knew that we'd be able to go through and start working on some of the big plans that I had here in the near future. But for today, we're going to go through and conclude the episode. Alright, well, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, then please consider leaving a like and subscribing if you're not already.